Hey guys, Infinity back again with another video, and this time I wanted to talk about something that has been a big issue for me in terms of the video game industry as a whole and sort of where it's been going as of late, mostly in terms of the so-called big AAA blockbuster titles, and it really comes down to hype and the so-called hype train, as they call it. Now, this is nothing new. Essentially, this has been going on for many years, going as far back as to even the early 2000s with games like Halo 2, which personally I remember as the first real big launch where people would line up midnight and wait for the game. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of delve into this whole situation because of Cyberpunk and its launch, and regardless of how you feel about how the game eventually turned out, I think this is an important video to make because it is going to be something that is going to impact a lot of people in the near future, and I think it should be addressed. Video games are not an easy medium to create entertainment in, and it's one of the only mediums that I notice this kind of expectation versus reality that's been taking place, and it's been happening so often and so much that I think part of the problem is that the market has become so saturated to the point where there's so much money being made. There's so much in terms of what a company has to do in order to sell a game in this particular time frame within the gaming industry, where everything has to be bigger, everything has to be better, everything has to play better, have more content, push downloadable content, push live updates, push all these patches, push all this stuff. And the teams are getting bigger, more people are being involved, and I think we're at the point now where it's almost kind of eating itself alive. Now, what I mean about that is, if you look at a game like Cyberpunk, I'm just using it as an example because it's the hot game right now, but there have been others, such as Anthem in recent memory. But I think, honestly, big companies need to really work on how they present their games, and you can't really be showing gameplay demos for the content of building, for the context of building hype, and at the same time, when your gameplay demo, the very same demo that you made and demonstrated, it almost turns against you. Because a lot of people were upset about the changes that were made based on that long 48-minute demo that they released a couple years ago. It's almost to the point where the demo was too good. You know what I mean? So it's an issue. It's an issue of, do you hold back or do you go all out? Because there's no in between when it comes to these these particular things. I mean, if I was in the position of a huge video game company and it was time to demo a video game, I would make damn sure that the product that I am showing is close to, if not almost exactly what the end product will be like. Because you're here to sell me something, right? At the end of the day, as great as gaming is, as much as we all enjoy it, it is a business. And you're selling me on something. And it's a bit different than other forms of entertainment because it's a pretty big buy-in. It's a big buy-in. Games are $60 and they're going up. You know, take for example, like, you know, you consider Call of Duty now with their ridiculous premium editions, $70 and up to even I think $100 in some cases. So we have that, and I just think that when it comes to these things, you really gotta come to town and you really gotta come play, because there are so many options out there these days, and it's very competitive, and you gotta come out with something that will last. To me, the greatest games of all time are the games that last. The games that you talk about many, many years after they're over. You know, I'm talking about Halo, Mass Effect, Skyrim. You know, all these games that people, they just talk about for years on end, because the thing is, man, if you come with a game that is incredible, you develop a really interesting sort of fan base for it. And when you have the fans, the diehard fans that really love what you did, it really creates a platform for you to build upon. And it's kind of tying back into the situation right now with Cyberpunk, because we all know that the only reason that this game had as much hype as it did was because of Witcher 3. It's because of Witcher 3. Because without that game, you wouldn't have the hype. I mean, the fact that they were able to build upon the standard RPG action game, sort of excellent writing, excellent story, excellent single player campaign, excellent DLC, and that kind of puts in your mind, it's like, wow, man, these guys really have talent. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do next. So I'm going to backtrack a bit. I'm going to backtrack to back to my early days. A little game from a studio called Bungie. Back in 2001, Bungie released, in my opinion, for those who remember the launch of the original Xbox, a game called Halo 1, Combat Evolved. And no one expected Halo to be as good as it was. This game essentially created the blueprint for every other first-person shooter on console going forward. And to this day, people are still using the same standardized pillars that Bungie built upon for current games. That is sort of the influence that these guys had back in the day. And you don't have that kind of impact in the industry without having talent. So when Halo 2 was announced, the hype for Halo 2, I remember this. The hype for Halo 2 was beyond anything that you can even imagine. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. And I think that it is very similar to Cyberpunk, because if you look back, they did release a gameplay demo for Halo 2 the same way that CDPR did for Cyberpunk. It was a long gameplay demo. It wasn't quite as long, minded you, but it showed off a good, decent chunk of gameplay, and it was better than what even I could imagine the game to be. The demo was incredible. So you can imagine, just imagine having all that hype, and then boom, Bungie drops the demo, and the demo is actually better than the game that you could even imagine or piece together in your own mind as a gamer. So when you have that level of hype, you really need to be careful, because if you don't live up to it, it can really be a double-edged sword and actually destroy you. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, this is something that's been happening over and over and over again. And I just don't understand how these game studios are allowing themselves to get into a position whereby the very people who are your fans, who like your games, who support you, are now turning against you because of your own volition. It's actually kind of insane when you think about it. And it's happening so often now that it's almost like a meme. Like, I'm not even surprised that it's happening anymore. Like, I should have known about Cyberpunk. I should have known. But you know how it is, man. I really feel like CDPR was the last company on earth to do what they did, to pull what they did. Now, a lot of people out there are saying some things which I think kind of is a bit unfair, because despite what opinions people have about Cyberpunk as a game, it is actually, well, in my opinion, if this game had come out without any of the hype, without any of the ridiculous expectations, if CDPR just released the game and said, here you go, here's our new game, enjoy, I think the reaction would have been completely different. I mean, people would have still complained about the bugs, but essentially, bugs can be fixed. So what you're left with is just actually a really solid game. So if you really think about it, I mean, most of what people's complaints were, it kind of comes from your own head, but at the same time, it's interesting because it also comes from the developers themselves. Because if not for that ridiculous demo we saw, the expectation levels wouldn't have been as high as they were. And I think people would have really kind of enjoyed the game a lot more as a result of that. And again, I mean, whether you like the game or not, this is not to invalidate anyone's opinion. This is just my random thoughts. I just feel like, as a gamer, we really have to be careful with how we respond to these particular types of games. Because I think we're in a situation now where hype is really gonna be the death of the industry, man. Like, we really gotta be careful with how we do these things, because like, gone are the days when like they were like very small guys, small teams, people working in the garages making games, which I think really was like the golden age of gaming, because it was games made by gamers. There was no committee. There was no like freaking there was no overhead. Like, there was no overhead. Like, there was no one telling these guys what to do. You know, there was no focus groups. So I think there's like a big disconnect nowadays, because you have the average gamer who wants to play a quality game, enjoy it, plenty of content for their money. Because like I said earlier, games are not cheap, man. Like, it's actually kind of like, I'm surprised that CDPR is actually making the DLCs free, which they should, because of what happened, regardless. But I don't know, man. I'm feeling kind of tired of this whole situation, man, where game after game is trying to be hyped up to be the next big thing, and it's coming out to be a mediocre mess. You know, we deserve better. So, to round it out, I just think that, you know, the gaming industry as a whole needs to kind of get its act together. Focus less on selling me something. Focus more on the gameplay. Focus more on actually creating something. Because I'm hearing talk about how these guys spent more time and energy on that demo, which could have been used to actually make the game a better game. You don't need that much when you really think about it. To get excited for a game, you don't really need that much. So I think that the industry needs to kind of just chill out. You know, release a trailer, a little teaser trailer, give us a synopsis, maybe a quick gameplay demo when the game is nearly complete to give us an idea of how it looks and plays. And I think the entire gaming industry will be a lot more healthy. And we can move forward, and there will be less disappointment. That's about all I got. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe and to like it, because I really want to make this a platform for normal guys, you know, regular gamers who spend their hard-earned money on video games, and is just kind of seeing the industry sort of pull a switcheroo and a fast one on us gamers, because they can make a quick buck off of us, and then kind of a sad situation, really. But yeah, let me know if you liked it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. This one was a little bit unscripted, so I was kind of all over the place, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.